Welcome back to Dooley's Dog Pod. I'm Donnie Trailer.
I am Noah Bice.
And this is a podcast where we talk about everything that happens on Dooley Field in Sanford Stadium with your Georgia Bulldogs. But this week is a bye week, and so technically we don't have anything to do except for recap the Texas game.
Give me the recap. I'm ready to get out.
I was like, what's going on?
I'm itching.
Oh my gosh. Which, I mean, we have plenty to say about that. But not just us. We are going to be joined in this episode by some of our friends, some of our coworkers, some of our besties. So that being said, give your first 10-second opening statement about Texas Go.
10 seconds about opening statement. Dogs are the greatest to ever do it. We asked for a generational player. Jalen Walker is a generational player. He plays like prime J.J. Watt. It is the greatest to ever play football. I've never seen us play that good. I was convinced we could win a national championship after watching this weekend. But before that, absolutely not. Even though Carson Beck threw 3 interceptions, we still dogged them. They didn't have a chance. Being in the SEC means more than putting letters on your field. It means coming out and playing dogs. Not no wussies like Michigan and Oklahoma. Coming out and playing dogs.
Okay, good. Glad we got that. For my 10-second statement, I'll just say this weekend impressed me, surprised me, all the things. I was very shocked. And I'm very glad that I am saying that. It was great. And now we will hear from some of our friends, and then we'll cut back in and we'll talk to y'all at the end of this. But yeah, they were great. So I'll first be joined by Caitlin. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Dooley's Dog Pod. I'm Donnie Trailer, and this time I am joined by the great Caitlin Hummel. This is going to be a half Caitlin Hummel production, which means it's going to be excellent.
What a great intro.
Exactly. She is one of my bosses, but she also has first-hand perspective of the Texas game. Hence the reason we want her perspective. I mean, not that it's not always valid, but this time around it's extremely relevant because she was there. So we can start off with just your overall thoughts initially on the environment and, their game day presentation and all that.
I thought it was awesome. Okay. So I know I texted y'all during the game.
Yeah.
The stadium is really cool. It was loud. I think Neyland, Tennessee was louder than Texas was, but the way the stadium is built. So at Tennessee, it's all enclosed and it's straight up. So the sound just is on top of you. Mm-hmm. Texas, it was loud, but the stadium's open, so it lets sound escape, whatever. But game presentation, awesome. I thought their video board show was awesome. Their fourth quarter thing is their drone show, which was sweet. I had never seen a drone show in person before, so that was awesome.
I imagine.
It was legit. And I don't know if they have that every game or if they do that for big games only or what that looks like. Knowing Texas, they probably do it for every game.
Yeah.
Whatever. But that was really cool. But from a game presentation, atmosphere, it was right up there with some of the best games that I've been a part of that we've played. So yeah, it was right there just in terms of, and even yes, we got off to a hot start, but I never felt like Texas was starting to lose their fans. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I was kind of wondered after we came back out at halftime, were people going to start leaving or what was that going to be like? Mm-hmm. And they were into it the whole time. So kudos to them for that.
They stuck through thick and thin.
Yeah. They never lost the crowd throughout all of that. So
okay. I just looking on TV, it just seemed like it was just absolutely electric. I would say also comparable to what I've seen with Tennessee as well.
Yeah.
Obviously we didn't know until y'all said something. I mean, technically that it's public information that they have a drone show.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware of the fact that it happened.
I didn't know either. I felt from as much as and how good Texas is on social and stuff, that they would pub that's their thing.
Yeah.
And I had no idea. Mm-hmm. So I'm with you. Either that was something new or
just a little secret for just the people who were there in person.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
But it was awesome.
It looked really cool.
Yeah.
It was really funny after the fact, cutting it out on Snapchat and flipping it upside down to post for the Horns Down graphic, which I will include here so you all can be, aware of just what all we got going on.
Yeah.
Anyways, my next question is probably going to be about water bottle gate.
Yeah.
So obviously that's a situation that happens. It's kind of crazy, but being on the field and shooting for Georgia,
right?
What was going through your mind and kind of, witnessing that as you were there in person?
Well, first thought was, what is going on? Things are falling from the sky.
Yeah.
2, when you realize what's happening, there was 3 of us. So it was Tony Walsh, me, and Jackson Collier. And all 3 of us were like, we got to do whatever. So we moved so that our backs were against the wall. So at least we were a little protected with whatever was coming over. Jackson was trying to be, I can't remember what he said. He sent a text afterwards. And he was trying to like catch some water bottles for a minute coming out, and I pulled him. I was like, you're going to try to catch one, and one's going to hit you in the head, and it's going to be a bad deal.
It's like, let's not do that.
But, so that was actually not the first time I've been a part of a situation like that. At South Carolina,
Oh, gosh.
when I was a student, there was a game where, it might have been a Georgia game, actually. I don't know. It was either Georgia or Florida. It was a night game when I was a student there, and our student section started throwing, the towels on the field, and that was a big deal at that game. But again, they were towels. They weren't full water bottles or beers or whatever it was. So that was like massive safety hazard for sure.
Definitely.
And it was unfortunate because where we were at the time, our end zone was, we were driving towards the end zone of the student section. So we were in the back of that end zone. So we got it the worst because everything was coming that way.
Yeah.
Which was unfortunate. We were on the other side of the field, whatever.
Yeah.
But, there was water bottles flying everywhere.
I
And then I looked up at one point, and all I see is Sarkeesian walking towards the corner where we were at and like trying to tell people to stop because they just kept coming. It was one of those things where it's like kindergarten, like one kid does something and everybody else starts doing it. So it only took like one person to throw a water bottle before it was just like chaos.
Everyone was like, that's a good idea.
Everyone at once. I mean, it was crazy. And then some other fans did it too. It wasn't just the students. Like it started, like it was coming from like all over the place.
But Steve Sarkeesian, him walking over and being like, everyone stop, please. It was so funny on the actual broadcast. Like, I was cracking up. I was mad. Don't get me wrong. But at the time, I was like, this is so funny. Him just coming over and being like,
Why were you mad? Why were you mad?
Because, like, I was like, be so serious.
The outcome, because of the outcome afterwards,
Well,
or
yes,
because
like,
they did it?
In the moment, before they overturned the call, I was like, this is ridiculous.
Right.
Like, I was like, can we not do that? Like, we're affecting the game. Like, this is taking time. It's unnecessary.
Right.
And in my head, my immediate thought was, this isn't going to change anything. Fast forward to 5 seconds later, when they're like, see, actually, so we're going to give the ball back to Texas because guess what? We do think that was not an offensive PI, or it was an offensive PI. And I was just like, oh my God, I need you to be so serious right now. I literally said that in the group chat in all caps. I need everybody to be so serious because how? That's literally never happened before. I was like, what are we doing? The fact that like no timeout gets burned by Texas in that case for like an official review. And then they're like, actually, we're going to reverse it. That was crazy.
Yeah, the biggest issue that I had with that, or not even issue, but my first thought was like, when we were students and that happened at South Carolina was there, and granted, I did not throw anything, so it wasn't me. But
for the record,
South Carolina got penalized for that. They got a delay game for that because it took time so whatever.
I'm sure.
They did get penalized. Like, could they have done unsportsmanlike conduct? Could they? Absolutely could have.
Yeah.
So there's a delay of game penalty. So when that happened, my first thought was, okay, if whatever happens in that time, I didn't even know that they were reviewing the call or talking about reviewing the call because that was never part of the conversation until afterwards.
Yes.
I was like, when I saw them huddle, I was like, okay, they're trying to decide if like what they're going to do. Are they going to do delay of game? Are they going to whatever?
Yeah.
When they came out of that, that was not what happened.
No,
obviously,
not at all.
as everyone said. So that was the weirdest thing to me was that
there was no penalization for Texas.
Yeah, nothing happened in regards to what happened.
Yeah. That was wild.
Yeah, it was just really, really weird. And yeah, very, very bizarre scenario. I don't think that will ever happen again. I know that their SEC office released statements and did the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I get that because that was just a very weird
scenario.
Yeah.
Special case.
Very, very strange thing that happened.
Thankfully, it didn't end up like costing us the game.
Absolutely.
I mean, in the moment, I kind of felt like it could have. Like, I was like, if they would have scored right then and then I mean, because what? This happened in the fourth quarter, right? I think. Was it the fourth quarter or third quarter?
It was third quarter.
Third quarter.
Yeah.
So we still had some time. But yeah, like in the moment, I was like, oh my God, if we lose this game because of this,
Yeah.
I'm going to start levitating.
Yeah, Texas was starting to get some momentum and some of that stuff. So, I mean, it was, And then, it was crazy. And then it was already kind of like both teams were playing emotional.
Yeah.
During the whole game, right?
Oh, yes.
Because of just how the
setup.
number 1, number 5, or whatever we were at the time.
Yeah.
And all of that. And Texas's first number 1 person coming into play in years and all of that kinds of stuff.
Yep.
So it was emotional. But that, like, after that, I mean, it was like times 1,000.
Oh, I know.
Of just the feeling in there. Like, it was just super tense.
Yeah.
And just, like, everything felt like it was riding on every play for both teams when they were on offense.
Yeah.
And all of that. So it would just kind of change the whole trajectory of the game.
Like
It'll be interesting to see, like, I felt like when we got to the stadium, and even from people who I know that when it's fans, like, their fan base were, like, super nice and stuff. Like, it wasn't like a weird, like, you're going to Auburn or going to South Carolina or going to Tennessee where, like, there's hatred there. There was,
automatic
like, there's no thing between Georgia and Texas, really.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you could say the Sam Ellinger, I'm back, or
Yeah.
we're back thing.
Yeah,
but even then, it was kind of like,
Yeah.
So, it'd be interesting now to see if this situation and this game creates a little bit of that rivalry moving forwards to see if that, gets heightened over the years to come.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting to see.
Which, I mean, like I said, one of the coolest things to think about, which is the main reason why I almost just, like, dropped a bando and went ahead and went to the game, is because I'm like, to be able to be at the first, like, Texas-Georgia SEC matchup when it has such a potential to become, like, this massive rivalry, new rivalry in the SEC, like, I was like, that has to be electric. And then you have something like this happen where it's like, oh, yeah, it's on and popping.
Yeah.
And it's like from then on in the game, it's like everything's so emotional when it already was that. It's, like, funny because obviously you have the perspective of being in the stadium, but, like, just watching the game just in general on TV, like, guys were hitting harder than I've seen them hit all season on both sides of the ball. Like, I was like, what in the world? Like, Texas looked like they came out for blood. They were, like, hitting so hard. And then I feel like, to your point, right after that play or whatever, it was like the one good thing that we had from that play as a result is this. It seemed like it fired us right back up, like, to kind of how we were when we first started the game. Yeah. Because I will say, like, I feel like our approach to this game was very, like, we were on it for the most part, especially on the defensive side of the ball, like, when the game, like, started. Oh, yeah. It didn't take us a minute to get going. Right. Like, offensively, I feel like it took a little bit of a minute just because of the turnovers in the beginning of the game. Yeah. But it's, like, lots of that is very avoidable. Yeah. Also kind of, like, one-off plays or whatever in a sense. So, last thing is, what was your kind of overall thought process of our approach to the game? And then, like, kind of, again, what this looks like for us moving forward just as Georgia takes on the rest of this season. Yeah, I mean, and Kirby kind of said this was the first time all season that you saw us play a complete game, right? You put everything together. And, of course, there were things, there's certain plays everybody wishes they had back and stuff. But that was the first time that we've seen this year that we've gone first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter in terms of consistency of play. Yeah. So that's encouraging to see. Yeah. And if we can keep doing that throughout the remainder of the season, there's still a lot left to play in terms of SEC championship and what happens and what shakes out there. But we've put ourselves in as good of a spot as we could be right now, and we'll just kind of have to wait and see what happens with everybody else, which is the weird part of this year. Yeah. And it makes it fun too, in a little bit, where it's not so clear cut. Yeah. In terms of one conference championships just around the league. I think there's a lot more parity in college football this year, where you still have like 15 to 18 teams that are kind of like in the mix of the playoff, depending on what happens. And a lot of people's seasons are riding on other teams' outcomes as well, which is kind of fun. Very interesting. So it's just a different dynamic this year that is it's kind of reinvigorates, the fan base of people being interested in things outside of your conference and stuff, because everything everybody does kind of affects someone things in a domino effect. Yeah. So. It's really interesting to think about like that, because it's like in years past, it's almost been like you are solely in control of what happens with your future. Right. You win games, you're in, you're good. You lose, you're out. It is what it is. It's like now this year, people are talking about potential for a 2 or 3 team or 3-game loss like teams making it into their conference
Right,
finals
yeah.
and then therefore making it into the playoff, and just what that looks like as far as obviously those 8 last spots in the top 12. It's crazy to think about. But anywho, this was great. So much fun.
I'll do it
I
anytime.
know, yes. We finally got you on.
Anytime.
Yeah, we need to have Chris over here because if he doesn't get on and you make it on, he'll be so mad. But
That's his,
it's his loss. Anywho, this has been, we've been joined with Caitlin for this segment of Dooley Dog Pod. And now we're going to have Parker and Mitchell, all to provide in-game perspective of Texas. Go Dogs always.
Go Dogs.
Back again with another interview. This time I'm joined by the great Parker Keys.
Thanks.
She's
Thanks,
amazing.
Anna. She's amazing too.
And she also was there
I was there.
as a fan.
I was there up in the sky. We could touch the flyover up there. But it was really fun. It was so awesome.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, let's start there. What was your kind of overall thoughts of the game experience and kind of just how Texas presented on game day?
I thought they did a good job. Okay, did you see the emo bevo?
No, I did not see
Did
you.
anyone? They were like trolling our kick Peyton Woodring the whole time. Well, every time you kick, they put emo bevo, like their mascot. Is it Bevo?
I think it's Bevo.
They would put him in a wig, an emo wig, and like put that behind the kicker when he was kicking. It's kind of awesome.
Emo Bevo.
They did. Yeah.
Caitlin's
You
like,
didn't-
wait, what?
Yeah, they had emo bevo up there.
Emo Bevo.
Unless
is
it was in
actually
my
crazy.
dreams, but I'm pretty sure I saw it.
Wait, I'm going to look up Emo
Yeah,
Bevo.
look up emo bevo. Like it's hilarious, but like I cannot believe that they actually did that.
Emo Bevo.
We would never do something like that here.
Well, no, definitely not.
Definitely not. But it
But
was
like,
really funny.
I feel like Texas embraces like troll culture
They
a lot
were
more than we
trolling.
do in general.
Side note, did you see that Vanderbilt put up that's it?
This is Emo Bevo. Oh my god.
It was kind of awesome.
So funny.
Like I thought it was really funny.
Wait, not us, or somebody from us putting Crying Jordan on Bevo. That's also hilarious.
That's awesome.
Anyways, so
But yeah, sorry, that was sidetracked, but that was like maybe my favorite part where they did that. Obviously, Peyton unfazed,
completely.
completely unfazed by emo bevo, but
Peyton's a wall.
Peyton's a wall.
Yeah.
He's
doesn't
so
even
locked in. He
recognize
doesn't
it.
even need it. Emo bevo. Nothing is going through there for him. But what else was really cool? The light show. That was pretty sick.
With the drones.
Yeah, that was pretty sick.
I can't even imagine like seeing the drone show in person.
Yeah, it was
I've
awesome.
just seen some clips that, SEC and everything like that has posted.
Yeah, that
but-
was cool. They put the SEC up there.
Yeah.
That was the best part.
Yeah. The best part was
SEC.
not related to Texas at all.
Yeah.
Just the SEC.
Well, exactly, because after we won, people started chanting SEC, SEC.
Yeah.
And it's like, welcome to it.
Welcome to the SEC.
Welcome to it.
We give them their moment. Okay, well, next is your perspective of water bottle gate. Like them throwing the bottle.
Oh, I was like, what? You said that so quick. My
Water bottle
perspective,
gate. Yeah.
a lot of people were like, did they hit you with water bottles? And I was like, no, I was way up in the top to see nothing of that sort. But, I mean, I was shocked by it. I thought that all the Texas fans that I'd encountered, like, during the day earlier, they're very, like, lovely and kind.
Everyone's saying that.
They were great, and then they started throwing trash. I'm sure it was the students. Shame on y'all. Because that's just, like, so classless, I feel like. I
Yeah.
don't think anybody would do that here.
Yeah, we'll say that would not happen here.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty crazy.
Yeah, I feel like if I was there, I'd be like, oh my gosh, what's going on here?
Yeah.
I feel like I'd just be confused at
It's
first.
more embarrassing, I feel like, for their staff to have to like go and like run and collect the water bottles.
Yeah.
Like you had to send the cheerleaders out to clean up your mess.
And like Steve coming over being like, stop.
yeah,
Everyone
yeah,
stop.
that was crazy.
Yeah, that was really interesting. But hey, I feel like after the fact, it gave our team like that
They
extra
did.
motivation. Like we were right back in the game.
They did.
After that, with
It did for
it
sure.
was like the third quarter at that point. I feel like the first half we started off fairly quick,
Yes.
and then halftime I feel like we came out maybe a little bit.
Yeah,
slow.
it was definitely a little slower.
But
in
then
the
that
third
happens in the
quarter.
third quarter, and it's like everybody's
We're rocked and rattled.
yeah, we're ready to go.
Also, they had cool clips of the water bottles in the Georgia football video at the end. Did you see that?
Yeah,
That was really cool.
that was really cool.
Funny.
Yeah.
Clever.
Yes. Okay, and then finally, like your thoughts on Georgia's kind of approach to this game and kind of like how going in, kind of what your thoughts were, and then like now that the game's happened and you see that we locked in and got the job done, you know, what
People
do you think?
always ask me, they just ask before the game, like, you know, when you're hanging out with people and tailgating, they're like, so do you think Georgia's going to win? And you got to remain calm, you know, calm and confident.
Composure.
I was pretty confident.
As Kirby would say.
You know, like Kirby's not going to let anyone mess around with him. I was confident in the win. I'm not kidding though. Genuinely, I was like, people would ask and I was like, no, I feel like we're going to win.
Yeah.
Kirby doesn't mess around. And they did have to lock in.
Yeah, and they did it.
They did.
It was great.
They did it. I was confident.
I cannot say that I had the same amount of confidence, if I'm being honest.
I feel like that's also like some, not fake it till you make it, but like that mentality, you know, you have to be a little confident, you know, in your team.
Yeah. You just have to believe that no matter what, you're going to find a way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I had that belief, but I was definitely scared, as was obvious by last episode. Like, I was very much nervy. And then, like, we started going, and I was like, oh, my God.
Yeah.
What is this?
Yeah, no,
Like,
they killed it.
They did great.
I would like to hear what Kirby said before the game.
I know. His, like, pregame speech.
Yeah, that would be
awesome.
awesome.
Like, everybody lock in, or you're all walking home.
Oh, yeah, I didn't know that the team flew home after every game. Like, even though they finished at, 9 or 10, they flew home right after.
Yep.
That's crazy.
But hey, I mean, it's better that they're flying. Or, oh, you mean like just not staying the night and going the next day?
Yeah.
Because I was about to say, I thought you meant like sometimes they like bus back, and I'm like, no, they fly back immediately.
No.
Some people have to bus back.
Yeah.
And they don't get back until like, in this case, what feels like a day later.
Yeah.
So, anyhow, well, thank you so much for your perspective. Is there anything that I didn't ask about that you want to add?
No, just.
There we go. That's perfect. And go Dogs. This time, we are joined by Mitchell.
Hello.
The great, the man, the myth, the legend.
First time on a podcast. This is stellar.
Yes,
Happy to be here.
So great.
Happy to be here.
Okay, and as is the current theme, Mitchell was there in person for the game.
Yep.
Give us your overall perspective on like the Texas game day approach and all that, and like how they put on a show for us.
Yeah, no, I mean, I came in on the day of, so I really didn't get the whole Austin experience.
Yeah.
Which was disappointing because I've heard so many great things about Austin as a whole and as a city. And I know F1 was going on that whole weekend. So it was kind of like when I flew into the airport on Saturday, the whole experience at the airport it's centered to F1. Because, I mean, there's 3 times as many F1 fans there that weekend as there was the Georgia game.
Which is crazy.
So it felt like it was like the whole city was kind of catered to the F1.
Yeah.
Until you got on campus. And then, like, once you got on campus, I went directly to the tailgate. And, I mean, there was a lot of red early going, like, walking around the streets. But then as it got closer to game time, there was a lot of that burnt orange all around the streets.
Yeah.
I wasn't at game day, unfortunately, so I can't really speak on that.
Yeah.
But just kind of walking up to the game, I mean, it was crowded, very crowded around the stadium. Just speaking, like, from, like, a sponsor outside perspective, like, their streets were filled with all these different like tents and like different displays that we do. So that was cool to see. Walking up to the stadium, we went through the gate that would be closest to our section. So me and Parker actually sat on the same road, just on opposite sides.
Oh, really?
So we kind of had the same experience about being up in the clouds, up at the top with the flyover.
Yeah. Parker said she could touch the flyover.
Yeah, I know. It felt like it was right above you. It was so loud. That was cool. We walked in the gate that was right next to their basketball arena.
Oh.
Their basketball arena is crazy nice.
Oh, really?
Like, so nice on the outside. That was cool to see. And then just walking into the game, I mean, I went to Tuscaloosa too, and I mean, it had kind of the same feel, like walking in. Like, of course, everybody hypes it up all week, but it feels like a big game. Like, Texas running out on the field, you're like, oh, shoot. Oh, shoot.
It's like trying to lock in.
Yeah, trying to lock in on the game. And then,
that's funny.
I mean, everything leading up to kickoff and then kickoff itself is just, like, spectacular. I mean, I don't think they could have done any better. I think Tuscaloosa did a great job, but I think Texas kind of went over the top in terms of, like, pre-game production and, like, getting it feeling like a big game. Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like it was amazing. Listening to your perspective just makes me be like, oh, Donna, you should have just bit the bullet and gone ahead and gone.
Should have gone.
But, yeah, no, I can't, like, to your point, like, the idea that F1 was there the same weekend is like crazy. Like the timing of that, especially with this ended up being such a huge game. For that to kind of be like the vibe the entire time. But it is crazy that you park us out on the same road, just opposite sides. It's like wild. Okay, so then game gets started.
Yeah.
You know, massive Georgia fan traveling to the away games. What's your perspective of kind of how Georgia approached this game and like how we got the ball rolling literally and then how we kind of closed this out and everything like that?
I mean, I go back to the aspect of like Quinn Ewers is a great quarter. Like even though he didn't have a good showing on Saturday, I feel like he's still a great quarterback. Like maybe not Heisman contender, but still a great quarterback. I just don't think he can like run as well as some other quarterbacks like Jalen Milroe. Yeah. And I think that is what our downfall is right now. So I think we're going into maybe not as conservative as an approach and like not as like being scared going into this game. Yeah. So when we stepped in there and we started getting stops on defense, it was like, okay, we finally can actually like we can do something on defense against a big team. Yeah. It just was the Alabama factor. Yeah. So
that just builds confidence initially, and then you just take that with you through the whole game. Yeah.
That Alabama factor is real. That was crazy against that game. But this game, I mean, we started getting stops on defense, and of course we had those turnovers on offense, so it kind of that sucked, and it was like, oh shoot, we still can't do anything on offense. But I mean, I feel like the approach has been, especially like from the fan base, like all the backlash, just like come out strong, be the first one to hit them rather than get hit and be on your back foot the whole time, which we were in Tuscaloosa. So I feel like we had that same approach. It just worked this time. Yeah. Last time it didn't work out as well, but I think the first half was great on defense, and offense started getting rolling a little bit more. ETN had 3 touchdowns in the game, and a couple of those came in the first half. So that was great offensively that we got that rolling. I don't think what else. I mean, it was just good first half. It got me kind of worried that we were up so big in the first half. I was like,
let's not be Alabama. Let them come back and catch us. Yeah, I definitely had that thought too.
I was worried. I even texted my mom during the game. I was like, I'm worried. She's like, you should be. And we were up like 20-0 at that point.
Literally, because it's like we hadn't had a lead like that the whole year.
Yeah, really.
And then we come around and do that to like the number 1 team and this whole huge environment, huge game day type deal. But yeah, to your point, like the offense, it took them a minute, but we got going or whatever once we got the turnovers under control. Yeah. And then I feel like after the half, we came out maybe a little bit slow. But then the water bottle situation happens.
Oh, it got our guys fired up.
And there we go. From then on, it was just like we're back in this game. Yeah. Like outside looking in, it just seemed like that just changed the whole dynamic of the game in that moment. It's like obviously we technically got like the short end of the stick with that because of the whole like it being overturned what it wasn't supposed to be. But then it's like we come back and it's like we're like, okay, well if this is how this is gonna go, we're gonna make sure that we do everything we can and make sure it's not up to the refs in this game.
I mean, even towards the end, like they were trying. Yeah. They were trying a little bit.
It seemed like it was a little funny.
There was a few calls, like the 2 targeting calls at the end of the game. It was like, how, like I get that the helmet touched the other helmet, but it felt like he led with the shoulder with the Dan Jackson one. Yeah. I didn't see the Jonell Aguero one. Yeah. I was just watching like the replay and would come back to my seat, and I was like, how did we get another one? Yeah. It just felt like it was we're walking on pin needles the whole game against the refs.
Definitely. I mean, I feel like the Jonell Aguero one was like, you just, in that moment, there's no other way to tackle him. Yeah. Like it just, obviously watching on TV, we had so many more angles than y'all did like in the actual stadium, but it was just like, oh my God, I need you to be serious. Like, how is this going to be like targeting? And it's just crazy to think that, I mean, I'm no hate to Florida, but it's like, we're going to be missing them for the first half of that game. Yeah. And it's just like, I just hope that we can get through it without like needing them. In a sense against Florida. But
so people are going to have to step up. I think we're going to have to play maybe some more freshmen, some less experienced guys. But I mean, that could be their time to shine too. They could come out and just put on a great performance in the first half. And then Dan Jackson comes back and you're like, well, he's great, but this guy has shown out huge, and that just kind of shows the future.
And it could mean that in the future we don't have to rely on one guy so much. We could just switch off and on, like, and have it could just be that chance to explore our depth, so we can have that further on in the season.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I think that just overall the game was crazy. I will say I was not confident. I'm a very pessimistic fan, so I was just like, oh God, like the entire time I was like, Jesus, I just want the game to be over. Yeah. Then we got going, and I was like, hey.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. I know. I was walking the game a little nervous. Yeah. Wasn't too confident.
Super nervy.
I was like, okay, nobody's really giving us a shot. Why should I give us a shot at the same time? But
Why
it's
not
like,
us?
yeah. But no, it turned out to be a good game.
Yeah, it did. I don't know if it was instant classic level like the Alabama one was, but it was definitely a good one.
Yeah.
I feel like it lived up to the hype.
Lived up to the hype for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, the TV viewership showed that.
Literally. It was like 12 million people or something
Yeah,
like that?
12 million, and the Bama game had 10 million right before it at the 3:30 slot.
Yeah.
So, I
People
mean,
were like, we're not turning this TV off.
yeah,
Keeping this channel on.
I know.
Call your friends, get them to start watching the Dogs.
Exactly. Good for ESPN,
I know, right?
ABC.
Good for them.
They're the true winners of this weekend, I think. I think they're the
Literally.
real winners for this weekend.
They make bank off of this.
Yeah, no, exactly. This is a huge weekend for them.
That's so funny. All right, well, was there anything I didn't ask about that you wanted to share about your perspective? The drone show, what do you think about that? Like,
Drone show was cool. I mean, it was definitely, from what I've heard, an expensive piece to put on.
Yeah.
I don't know if it would be like it was super cool, but is it worth it? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, but that was cool.
You gotta think about things from the sponsorship side,
Yeah,
like the money side.
Yeah, no, exactly.
You can't turn your brain off.
When they
funny.
like put up like this big light show, but in reality it was just literally just like lights on the field that were going up and down, and it was like a club almost. It was
like a rave.
I wasn't too impressed with the light show as much as I was with the drones. The drones were cool.
That's funny.
I do feel like Austin as a whole, there's a lot of transplant fans there. So I was talking to this one guy, and I was like, y'all stadium is so nice, man. He was like, oh, I'm not even a Texas fan, I'm a Michigan fan. And he was wearing like Texas jersey, Texas hat, and I was like, I could never.
Yeah.
I could never wear like some Tennessee stuff
That's
to
hilarious.
a Tennessee game. Like I would just be wearing nothing, just like blank clothes.
Yeah.
So that was one thing I did see. And walking out of the game after, like you're walking down the streets, like if Georgia lost a game in Athens to somebody like that, like if Texas came to Athens, we lost to them, people would be pissed. People would be so mad. No, I mean, there was like a few fans that were mad, but like most of the fans, they felt like it. Yeah, man.
No chance.
Yeah.
They're not diehards for real.
No, yeah. Big 12 mentality.
That's crazy. That's so funny. No, that's like another. I mean, this is why I wanted to do this, because you have perspective that I would never have had if I hadn't been there. I never would have known that. That's like hilarious to think about that. Like, not saying that Texas doesn't have their diehards, but it's just like,
for sure.
It was just like in the moment, it's like, this is not how it would have gone if it was the other way around.
Oh, yeah, no, not at all.
That is so funny. All right. Well, this has been great. Mitchell, thank you.
Yeah,
you were
for sure.
great. Such great perspective. Horns down. Go Dogs.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. This is our last, but not least.
That's right. Took you how long to have me and Caitlin on the show?
Stop. See, this is why we're doing this now, so we can knock it out so y'all can stop complaining. I'm kidding. So, anyways, this is Chris, the great Chris Gilmore, the backbone of GBSM, also one of my bosses. And he also was there for the Texas game working, so on field, has great perspective that no one else has. I mean, Caitlin has similar, but they're two different people, two different spots on the field, all that whole jazz. So, we're going to open with your opening statement on kind of Texas's, that's a word, approach to game day, kind of their presentation and everything like that, and then we'll get into kind of your thoughts on Georgia's approach to the day as far as the game and all that. So go right ahead.
I thought Texas was super cool. The stadium when we walked in didn't feel as big as Tennessee, but I think that's just the way the stadium's constructed. We didn't get to see a whole lot of Austin or like around the stadium itself, so we didn't really get to see the game day atmosphere. But from what we saw in the stadium, I thought it was really good. I mean, 100-something thousand people, with the exception of what happened there in the third quarter.
Yeah.
I thought the fans were great. They were loud until we took them out of the game, and then they got loud again after that point. And then just the overall like game presentation, from stuff they show on the video board to the drone show to the light show. I mean, it was pretty impressive. But I mean, we always hear it's bigger in Texas, and it was.
Yeah,
definitely was.
That's true. Caitlin said that it was crazy because it felt like they never lost the fans at any point in the game, really. And so, like, kind of, what's your idea there as far as like them just being in it? Obviously, it being huge, there being so many hundreds of thousands of them, it feels like. So, yeah.
Yeah, I thought they did a good job overall keeping the fans engaged throughout the game.
Yeah.
Obviously, I mean, we saw it when we were down at Alabama. I mean, a little different scenario. We were down on the road, but our fans were kind of out of it. Like, you definitely heard Dawg fans in the stands, but their fans were loud that whole time. And obviously they got louder as they got closer into the game.
Yeah.
I guess toward the end of the second quarter, it was a little quieter than it had been. But from kickoff to the third quarter, I mean, it was pretty solid. And obviously they had their little down points there where they weren't scoring. But when they came back in the game, it got loud again. Definitely wasn't the loudest environment I've been in, but it was up there.
Do you feel like that has anything to do with how the stadium's made, or just in general?
No, I mean, they just had I think they just had they just had a lot of people there. Yeah, I think Tennessee's probably the loudest that I've ever been, but that is probably because of the way the stadium's made, where they're right on top of you.
Yeah.
This one, they felt a little bit like it was a little
More spread out.
Yeah, it was like wide and then it went up.
Yeah.
I thought the coolest thing was on the scoreboard side, all the suites over there. I mean, it looked really cool.
Yeah.
Big money.
Yeah.
Big
Texas money.
Yeah, Texas oil money.
Yeah.
No, a lot of money over there. But that was just a cool little area where it was like you could tell that was different. But the rest of the stadium, it was basically like a big U, and then you had the big side on that side. So that was pretty cool.
Okay. And then obviously, as you mentioned, like fans were great or whatever, and then water bottle gate happens in the third quarter. So you were in the end zone. You weren't on the side where they were throwing the bottles, right?
Yeah, I was in that same end zone, just on the other side of the end zone.
Yeah.
So Caitlin was down kind of in the student section, and then I was down on the Texas sideline. So she's on the Georgia sideline, I was on the Texas sideline. I saw the first one get thrown over our bench, and then I saw Kirby kind of pointing and then doing that, and the next thing you know, I look to my left, and there's some coming there, and I see one come over my head. Then you kind of take cover.
Yeah. I imagine so.
Yeah, a lot of full water bottles, full beer cans,
Yeah.
which I said, why are you throwing a full beer can? Those things are expensive. So
They got Texas money. They don't care.
yeah, maybe, yeah. Who knows?
That is
But it was a little
hilarious.
wild. I mean, I've seen stuff get thrown, but never to that extent.
Yeah.
Kind of reminded you of that was at the Tennessee Ole Miss game a couple years back where they threw the mustard at Lane Kiffin.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh.
I
You
don't
don't remember
know.
that game? Mm-mm. Oh, you can go back and look at that game.
Okay.
Fourth quarter of that game.
I need
They
to.
thought they were about to pull the whole teams off the field.
Oh,
They got golf ball, mustard, yeah. Didn't feel quite like that, but yeah.
that's crazy. Caitlin talked about how she had a situation similar when she was at South Carolina, where she was in the student section and they started throwing the towels because that's their whole thing there or whatever. She's, for the record, she didn't throw a towel.
I got hit
by
with a
any
wet
means.
towel on that game, so
Oh,
she was
no.
probably throwing it at me.
That's so funny. See that man aim for him.
Yep. No, I remember
That's
that game.
so funny.
It was a rain game at 3:30. Poured the whole game, and it was miserable.
I imagine so.
But yeah. I think the difference between those places and here is you have a lot further from the student section or even the fans to
Yeah.
the field. Like here, you have the walkway and then the hedge.
Yeah.
So you kind of have a little bit of it's a little further away.
A
So
buffer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there, you're right on the field though. Like the stands go right up to the edge of the bench.
Yeah.
And
I think about that sometimes when I like look at other people's stadiums and whatnot, and it's just like I can't imagine if ours was like that. Like if we were bumped right up next to the field.
you'd have a
whereas,
whole
like,
different feel for sure.
Yeah, because it's like you don't have the. I feel like it would feel like, to your point with the whole them feeling like they're on top of you. As far as like being at Tennessee, for example, it's like when there's no walkway. I'm like, the fact that you have to go like up and then out as far as like being a fan
Yep.
at all times, you can never just go down to
Down-
get where
down
you're trying
and
to
out,
go.
yeah.
That's crazy to me. Like, or not crazy, but you know what I mean. It's just
Yeah.
different.
Yeah,
think
there's
about it like that.
most of the stadiums. I mean, Alabama looks a lot like ours. Auburn is kind of similar.
Yeah.
But for the most part, a bunch of them they're right up on the field.
It's really interesting to think about it like that because it would be very difficult to launch anything onto our field. I
Yeah.
mean, except for like the one little end zone area.
Oh yeah, the end
And-
zones are kind of are probably your only options.
Yeah, but no.
Don't do it though.
Yeah, definitely not. Definitely not a good idea. I saw this meme that was like, it was like a UGA student posted it, and they were like, my professor tried to give us a pop quiz today, and we just threw water bottles at him until he changed his mind.
Yep, I saw the same thing about kids messing around with their parents, asking, say, "Hey, I need my bedtime later," and they finally,
That is so funny. But it's like, no.
You whine enough, you get your way. Is what it
We're
sounds
not
like.
encouraging that. Absolutely not. Anyways, no, yeah, like I can't even imagine like looking over and being like, oh my gosh, like seeing them all and being like you said, having to take cover because you got hit with one, right?
I got hit with one.
That's crazy.
But yeah, you kind of had to hide and just
Yeah.
go up against the wall as close as you could.
Caitlin got hit with one. She had a bruise on her
Yeah,
arm.
she got hit with two in the game. One at the beginning of the game, one at the end of the game.
I can't even.
And then she also got hit with one at Alabama. So
Oh yeah.
she got a whole beer
She's
thrown
got a
at her.
bad
Yeah,
track record.
it's been a rough road trip. Hopefully, Ole Miss is a
been
little
rough.
better.
Yeah. Okay, so then we talked about those two things. Now, if you just want to share your kind of overall perspective of like Georgia's approach to the game or whatever, how we like went in, got the job done, even though obviously we're the underdog for the first time in forever, and then kind of what that means for us moving forward.
Yeah, I thought that was the Georgia defense everyone thought we were going to have at the beginning of the year. Not saying we haven't played to that level at times, but you also got to remember how many people we've had out on the defense.
Yeah.
And this is, I wouldn't say Michael was close to 100%, but I mean, I don't know, but he looked close to 100% for the first time since probably Clemson.
Yeah.
And then I think that just bolsters the defensive line and gives Jalen a little bit more wiggle room on the edge, and it's hard to account for both of those guys on either side.
Yeah.
And then not to mention Tyrion Ingram-Dawkins in the middle.
Yeah.
I mean, Stackhouse is taking on blocks, but then that opens up things, puts less pressure on the secondary, which we saw Dalen have probably his best game at Georgia.
Ever.
Yeah, so I think you always hear it gets won in the trenches, and I think that it really showed this week that how much that affects the rest of the game. Yeah. Because I thought linebackers played well too on defense, but then I think I heard something about our offense and kind of put everything in perspective. Like, yeah, we didn't play well. We still put up 30 points on the road at number 1.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we threw we turned the ball over 3 times. And won by 2 scores on the road at number 1. So, I mean, to me, that says if you can do that with your B-, C+ game on offense.
Yeah, we've got some versatility.
But you got to put it all together at some point in the season because it's going to be, you're going to have to.
It's like our offense has had games where they're like on fire, and then our defense have had games where they're like decent. And I feel like this is one of those, obviously. It's like we got to have both.
Well, and then the other thing, too, is Thorson flipped the field so often this past weekend. Like, he came out there and he was booming punts. There's one, like, I try to follow the ball, and there's times where he kicks it higher than I think it's going, so I can't even find it. Yeah, so it gets up in the sky, and I'm like, man. But Kirby mentioned that in post-game press conference was how much that helped, because I think I heard something like we started the whole first half, our average field position was like our own 45. So, like, we were on the plus side of the field, and they were backed up almost the whole game. So, I mean, when that happens, it puts your offense at a little bit of a, you don't have as much wiggle room back there.
I feel like you don't think about, like, people, I guess, like the average fan doesn't really think about how much that part of the special teams, like, element, like that part of it can, like, really affect you.
He kicks the ball really high, so he allows everyone to get down there. Because you think about it, by the time he kicks it, and we have 2 of our gunners are like the fastest players on the field. You have Arian and Dom. I mean, you put them on a track and they're running circles around everybody. So if he puts it up high enough in the air, they'll get down there. And I think it's this game where the guy, we punted it and it hit the ground, and then the guy picked it up, but you had Dom and Arian were both down there. And it's like, one was that guy thinking, but so I don't know.
Well, it just goes back to the whole thing of like last year with us not allowing like a return or whatever. It's just because, again, like Thorson, it's just that kind of unforeseen element, that guy you just don't really think about, that's really helping us out. So props to him. Give him his props. That probably doesn't happen all that often. Anyways, so, well, okay, we can hold for sound. I don't know if that's going to pick up.
It'll be, I'm sure it's good.
Is there anything that I didn't ask about that you want to talk about as far as anything goes? Texas, the process of getting to the game, after the game, anything like that?
No, I mean, again, it was a great game. I mean, that's probably one you're going to look back on at the end of the year and be like, you had to have that one. So, we'll see how it goes. Got a week off and then the home stretch. So,
starting
keep
with
it rolling.
Florida in our little neutral site. So
then go on the road again. So,
on the road again.
Like Kirby said, you're battle tested. So
there you go. And that's it. Horns down. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.
Thank you. This was so fun. Sandra is here now, Sandy, and she was in Austin.
I indeed was. It was quite the experience.
What was it like?
It was super fun. The Texas fans were great. Not. Actually, that's a joke. They were fine. They weren't too bad. It was super fun, though. The city was definitely, there was a lot, split and split. There was a lot of UGA and a lot of Texas. Obviously, a lot of Texas. But there was a lot of UGA people. A lot more than I thought, honestly. So, Dogs travel.
We do.
It was fun, though. Fun experience. Would go back.
Like,
go
she
Dogs.
watched the game downtown. Yes.
I did watch the
With some
game
friends.
downtown. Yep, it was fun. We were at the UGA area, UGA alumni, which was fun. Just surrounded by Dog fans, which is how it should be.
Always.
Always.
Repping the G.
Horns down.
Horns down. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.
Go Dogs. Horns down. It's all about the dogs.
This is Steven.
And go Big Red.
No, absolutely not.
Go
Come on.
Big.
No.
Go Big
Actually,
Red.
we're going to take the mic.
Fear the corn.
Cut
Go
the
Big
camera.
Red.
Cut the camera.